real quick disclaimer before we begin and before I do my intro. I realized after recording all of these videos that they were going to take significantly longer to record and the footage was going to take significantly longer to produce than I originally thought. What I thought was going to take me maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes ends up taking me about an hour. So that's why these videos are about an hour long, and it's basically going to be a mini documentary of me doing this. I am currently in the middle of recording the second video in the series. Like, I'm literally about to do some extra work I gotta do off screen and about to record its outro. But, well, let's just say we're kind of in a bad spot. So I'm tacking this on at the beginning of the series, so that's why they're so long. That's why I keep making references to 10, 15, 30 minutes. Won't take me that long, real quick. Take those with a grain of salt. I've also noticed an error in this first video. I refer to slashes forge or slash forge when it's $sign or hashtag forge. So little amendments there. Enjoy the intro official right before this, and beyond that, well, enjoy the video. Hello everyone, SatanaDev here, and today, well, I got a few announcements and then we'll get on into the video. One, Real SatanaDev is going to become SatanaDev Plays. This was originally my streaming channel, and well, I'm not really set up for streaming. So, what we're going to do is we're going to turn into a Let's Play, mod review, game review channel. Just me as an aspiring game developer, learning about video games, trying to figure out ways to find different exploits, find different ways to play the game, and approach problems. Sometimes you'll just see gameplay, sometimes I'll be explaining what I'm doing, sometimes, we'll just have some fun. I'll just play around in the game and we'll have fun. I'll make note of anything I find interesting. Now, let it be said that we're going to be starting off in modded Minecraft. Obviously, for those of you who are familiar with Minecraft modding at all, you may recognize this pickaxe. It's called a red matter pickaxe from Project E. I'm using it solely for today's demonstration because, well, that's easier. Now, you may also know I have a red matter axe and red matter shovel in my inventory. There are reasons for that. We will be getting into it when we get to another step of this whole process. So, what exactly are we doing? Well, I have found an exploit in Project E that allows you to use the power flower setup, hoppers, and furnaces to generate a lot of EMC. But we got a little bit to cover from some other mods that I have running at the same time, because we're going to be doing some compare and contrast. How do vanilla items added in with Project E and just Project E compare to if you use, say, modded ores and modded gems. We'll be doing some compare and contrast. We'll be doing some basic runs of just, what are we doing, how are we doing it, and, well, when we teach the exploit, we're going to figure out whether or not using modded items with it is, well, efficient. Anyways, I'll give you a better explanation of everything when we begin. Without further ado, welcome to SatanaDev's Minecraft Mod Academy. Alright, so first thing we're going to be taking care of is we're going to be covering what's going on with these walls and what's in these chests. Now, for some basic explanation, and really that's all we're going to be doing for this video, we'll eventually get to the actual exploits and how Project E works and everything like that in future videos, but in order to understand that, I gotta go over some basics of Project E, as well as our other mods in relation to the exploit I'm going to be teaching you. So we're not only going to be doing what the exploit is, but I'm going to be teaching you why it works, the way it does, and how it functions, and how doing certain things lead to these other exploits. So, first things first, you know what EMC is. EMC is basically the value of items given to basically anything by the EMC mod. Granted, this really only has to do with items from vanilla Minecraft, items added by the Project E mod, and everything with a crafting recipe that you can craft here or on the crafting table. So if it has this recipe, or this recipe, if I can hit the right buttons, it'll automatically generate it. Any sort of furnace or cooker from another mod, it does not automatically generate those. For example, see, chaos, if I can, chaos, how do you spell chaos? It's coal. How do you spell chaos? Well, here, this right here, chaos coal. Boom. You get it by taking a chaos crystal and coal and using the token enchanting table from Silent Gems 3. It doesn't recognize this as a recipe, so this doesn't have an EMC. If I really wanted to, I could take the value of chaos crystal and the value of one coal, or the value of 8 coal, add them together, divide them by 8, and give me one, but I don't have the proper name, I'll explain how that works in a minute, to assign it an EMC value using commands. I'd have to go into the code, and I've yet to actually find that. And then you can do the same for charcoal, but the coal would be the more efficient way to do it. So, but it's got to have recipe from here. Oh yeah, just enough items. And, or does that crafting table come from just enough items? Oh well, whatever. Anyways, so I'll get to why that's important later, but basically everything that has a crafting item, you see EMC beside it, or just, let's go back to where we have everything up. Bedrock, of course, didn't have one, but you see the yellow EMC plus the EMC value. Those are the values for the energy mass conversion, which is what I'm assuming EMC stands for, considering it's related to alchemy, and we have things like dark matter and red matter. So, see, all of this stuff has some sort of EMC value. Magma blocks, all of it. So, that's the basics. I've added some EMC values to certain things, like those don't have one, but these all have one. Yeah, the battery has one because you can create it. This one doesn't have a crafting table recipe, so it doesn't have one. Let's see what else. Yeah, and then again, these do not have one. Anyways. But basically what we're going to be doing is I took some stuff from Silent Gems and Silent Mechanics and gave them EMC values, which is what gives some of our items from Silent Mechanics and Silent Gems EMC values, because they're used in the crafting recipes, so on and so forth. But I'm going to give you a very quick breakdown of what I've done, show you in the chests, and explain a little bit, and basically I'm going to explain what the materials are here, and over there, when we get there, I'm going to explain how I did the math, how it all functions, because it'll be easier to visualize the math over there. I really should have done the equations for EMC down there, and maybe labeled on the signs there, because I did it for the alloys. I should have done it for the rest of them, now that I think about it. But anyways, so first thing we got, basic metals with the related ores and dust and stuff like that. So with the addition of coal and redstone, because they have natural ores and they are not gems, which pass the alloys chest here, all of that is gem related. There's a little bit extra in that chest there, but all of that's gem related. So here we have redstone, we have tin ore, zinc ore, bauxite, which is the ore for aluminum, and all of this comes from Silent Mechanics. So obviously we got the vanilla coal, the dust is from Silent Mechanics, and vanilla iron, vanilla redstone. Now these dusts and these ores all have the same EMC, because They're crushed versions of the ore and of the ingot, respectively. So, I'm going to explain really quick before we get too far into this. And when I go to break down this box here, in fact, let me go ahead and do that. We got crimson iron ore, which comes from the nether. You can see by the netherrack background, you can see it over there. It stands out. So you find it in the nether. It's just crimson iron. Gives you the same things. We have silver, and now we have two different silvers. So this one is from, I believe, Silent Gear. That's why it doesn't have these two items or even a block. But this all comes from Silent Mechanisms by Silent Chaos. They're all by Silent Chaos, but it's just, this is one of her, I'm assuming her mods, and this is another one of her mods. So this one relates to the gems, this one relates to the machines. And then we have gold, and then we have platinum, nickel, and uranium. And why nickel's over here as opposed in the first chest, and why uranium, and we'll be using bits of uranium later. So, to explain to you how I gave these modded items EMC, because they do not have a crafting table recipe. Just smelting something in a furnace doesn't give it an EMC value. But I had to give all of these an EMC value, and I had to give all the ores an EMC value. And I'll explain the actual equations later, but how you actually go about it is when you have Project D installed, / Project D, typically it'll come up itself. You want the set EMC command, and we're going to say 16, that's the EMC value, and then / forge, let's see, redstone there, ores, and this will bring up a bunch, all of the ores, and then so much showing gems, and there's crimson iron. I'm not going to actually run the command because I have all this set up the way I want. I believe 16 was redstone. Yeah, the redstone ore, but you do that, and then you just hit enter, run it, and then what it'll do is it'll tell you to either restart or use / reload. What I would suggest is once you have so many values in, I wouldn't suggest you put all of them in, but once you have so many values in, hit / reload like every 4 values you put in, just / reload, give it a second. It's going to basically lag your game for a moment while it does it, and then once you can move again, those EMCs should be ready to go. So that's how I had to put all of this in, and I'm going to explain all the math behind how I came up with these EMCs once we go over to the wall. So that's all of these. Now all of these are created using, these are the alloys, and you use these alloy smelters. These are from Silent Mechanics. They are powered using the generators, but with the exception of the crimson steel ingot here, they're all created using the smelter. Crimson steel can be used in the smelter, but it also has a crafting table recipe. I'll explain that in a moment. So this one actually had an EMC without me having to set it. And I'll explain little details about each one more on the other wall, but the other one to note for now is refined iron. All this does is it's an iron ingot that has been sent through a furnace. That's the only difference. It's just an iron ingot sent through a furnace. Compressed iron ingot is an iron ingot sent through a compressor. That's all it is. So what I did is I basically figured out how much energy goes into running those machines, one piece of coal, and then I really just added a similar amount here, or half of it. I can't remember exactly what I did, but I added 80 EMC to this, so yeah, they're just there, but because I refer to them as more of an alloy anyways. So these are all the alloys. I think for the rest of this line, I had these chests down here because I expected to have more, but they're all empty. So the only one that has it is the first one over there. So here we go. Vanilla gems and ores. So we got your nether quartz, your lapis, your diamonds, and your emeralds. And then this was just a bunch of stuff that I was using, and I was using this chest because I had a lot of extra space as my building when I was building all of this. It was just kind of my storage chest and easy to access. But this is the order in which all the gems follow. I divided it into different levels, with each one of these being the maximum of their respective level. Again, we'll get into more detail and get into the math when we get over there. So that's vanilla gems and ores. Again, same commands. The /project D space set EMC value item. Oh, I forgot to actually tell you where to find the item. The /forge /ore /diamond, that is what you're looking for on each of these. Forge gem /diamond, and then the blocks automatically generate an EMC when you do the things that when you create the block. When you create an EMC for what creates the blocks EMC is automatically generated based on the crafting recipe. So you don't have to worry about the blocks, you just have to worry about those. And here we have, from silent gems, you have the surface ores, which are referred to as the classic set, gems and ores, and they're basically just sorted by the color of them. The colors sort of relate to their rarity, but it's not 100%. It's just kind of, the only one that I've been able to figure out is that these are a bit more rare than the rest. But basically I was just like, you know what, the easiest way to do it is just sort them all by their colors and then set the EMC that way. So that's what I did for all of these. So starting with red, going all to the purple and pink iterations of each one of these, and then what is closest to black and what is closest to white for all of them is how I set the EMC. So the white one is going to have the highest EMC, and this is because this is the order they're put in. When you look it up here, gems, if you look it up here, this is the order it puts it in. So I just went with this order, and that's how I determined what the EMC was going to be. And then we had these that I thought about creating an EMC for, but as you can see, they don't have the labels. And then there are a couple others that are like that I really wanted to set an EMC for because it would make life easier, but they're just not. What? Oh, my computer just went into the okay. I have my computer set to do the whole yellow tinge on the screen whenever it gets around 7 o'clock, so I've just dated what time I did this video, but hey, whatever. Anyway, so this is the nether gems, all the ones you can find in the nether. Dark set, nether is supposed to be essentially hell. So these are the ones that you're looking for when you're in the nether, and what it is they are more valuable than those because you have to make the effort to create the nether portal, go to the nether, there's more risk involved, lava, mobs, if you're not playing on peaceful, the like. You're more in danger going to try and find these than you are to find these. And then, so all of these have a higher EMC value than the gem of the same line. And then, obviously, your end ores and gems, the light set, obviously there's more risk and more effort involved in finding these. So it's easier to have them as a higher EMC value. Granted, I have found dark set and light set gems in the overworld, but it's typically in places like desert temples, jungle temples, the ruins you can find under the ocean. Occasionally you may find one in a shipwreck. I don't think I've really seen them. You can find them in the underground mine shafts. I find a lot in the underground mine shafts, actually. And I'm sure you could probably find them in woodland mansions, in different, let's see, woodland mansions. Maybe you could find one in a witch's hut. I have yet to encounter a witch's hut since they've been added to the game. Granted, I haven't really played survival much since they were added to the game, and I've only started really playing survival again here recently. I haven't gone looking, so yeah. But you may be able to find some of these in like witches' huts and stuff like that, but you're gonna find it a lot easier to find them in the nether in the end where you want them. This is that crafting table I was talking about over there. Has a bit of an extra storage. I can't even remember where this comes in. Like, what mod is this from? Hold on. Let me see. I keep saying it's from Silent. It's from Silent Gear. Okay. So what I probably need to do is I need to create this in order to be able to create the different gem tools and swords and stuff like that. Huh. I need to make note of that when I get back on my survival world. There's a reason that carpet was there. I'll explain why that carpet's not there. I'll explain later. So, that is basically what you need to know about my organization of everything. Now let's get on to the actual maths and my logic in behind putting these things in the order they're in, giving them the EMC they have, stuff like that. So, let's see. Over here, we're going to start with the basic metals, basic ore stuff. Redstone is obviously first because all of the metals are based off of the value of redstone. So here between redstone and redstone and coal, we have tin, zinc, and aluminum. Yeah, I did it right. Tin, zinc, and aluminum. So, which is the tin, zinc, and bauxite ores. You know, the ore chunks you get out of the crusher, the dust you get out of the crusher, all this. These are some of the most common elements. I can't remember if tin is an element on its own. I think it is. If I'm wrong, correct me, please, but because I don't want to go spreading misinformation. But essentially, aluminum, zinc, tin, they're some of the most common metals out there, common elements out there. So they're down here, and they're all really common in Minecraft. So that's what earned them their respective EMCs. That's why they're all here at the bottom. Now, copper's up next. Copper, bismuth, and lead are between coal and iron. Now, copper is really abundant near the surface of the overworld. It is typically around 64 to 32, I think. You can find it fairly easy. I mean, it's almost as abundant as these guys up on the upper levels, but once you start getting down, it's a bit less common. But the metal copper itself is so common and abundant on Earth that, because I am using comparisons to Minecraft and real world logic, and that's why it's sitting here. So it's just common enough in the real world that I still group it with these guys typically, and that's why it's below bismuth and lead, but it is still rare enough in Minecraft for me to justify putting it above coal. And then bismuth, it's more common in Minecraft than copper, but bismuth is more of a gem in the real world and more rare, really, than copper in the real world, so it's up here. Lead is more rare than even iron, but in the real world, lead is just as common as iron, so I needed to keep it 3 in between each of these, so it kind of got bumped down, especially when I had to consider this right here and keep it even. So it got bumped down mostly due to that. And I'll explain the actual math once I explain the reason all of this is like this. So what happens here is crimson irons from the nether, and so there's more risk involved, so it got bumped above iron. So yeah, and then it's common enough in the nether that I decided, beyond that risk of going to the nether to find it, there's no reason for it to be more expensive than silver. The only reason this one is, well, silver has the same EMC value either way. So, you know, the ores are the same, they have the same name, ingots are the same, all of this is the same. So really there's only two between iron and gold, but with the extra silver I decided that it was okay. So moving on to this last section, we have gold, which platinum is actually more common, at least in my worlds, than gold. I find it fairly more often, but granted that's if I'm hanging down at the levels. If I'm hanging around at the levels that platinum spawns, you'll find more platinum than you will gold. Granted, the overlap's kind of weird and stuff. If you're hunting for diamonds, you're going to find more platinum than you're going to find gold. It's essentially what it boils down to. Now, many of you are probably going to be wondering, why is nickel, of all things, the thing that we literally put on our coins, up here next to uranium and platinum and gold, of all things? Well, that's because in Minecraft, you literally get like 3 or 4 veins of this stuff per chunk, with a max of 4 per chunk. 4 per vein. If you're lucky. Like, that's the max you can find. So it is significantly more rare than any other metal in Minecraft, except for uranium with the Silent Mechanisms mod. Uranium's the only thing rarer with a 1 vein spawn, with I think only 1 to 4 ore per vein. It may go up to 8. I cannot remember. You can mess with it when you go into the configurations, but strictly speaking, uranium's the most rare, then nickel, and then platinum's its own thing. So that's why nickel, despite it really belonging down there with copper, tin, and zinc, is so rare in Minecraft that it deserves its place right here. And then again, uranium is just as rare as it. So give me just a moment and I'll get on to explaining the math. Alright, so the math of how all this goes. So we take the redstone, the difference between redstone and coal, divided by 4, because we got 4 values to work with. And then we basically took that fourth, added it to redstone, so on and so forth. And then we end up with the increment right below coal being aluminum. Same goes from coal to iron, so on and so forth. And that's to get the ore and the ingots. I'll explain the dust in a moment. And again, Project E calculates the blocks once we have the ingots. So that was to get the ore, and again you have to divide the difference between the coal ore and the redstone ore and the actual coal and the redstone dust itself. Because really the redstone dust is equal to the ingots, but it just looks better being in line with all the things that are basically the same texture. So anyways, so same thing goes on over here. Take the difference between iron and coal, blah blah blah. Now this one is a little bit trickier, I believe. Let's go back over here so I can look at the numbers, because I think I accidentally threw that paper away. Wrong. Yeah, here. So iron is 256 and 64, while gold is 515. So what I think I did is I did the same thing, I just skipped a value. Yeah, I just skipped the value that would be here, which would be about 1500 from the looks of it. Yeah, it would have been about 1536. Yeah, 1536 is what it would have been. So, or something like that. Yeah, 1536 would have been here, but I didn't have metal to put here. This silver just ended up here, and then here it would have been something probably along the line. Well, probably would have been something along the lines of 370 something. Just math off the top of my head, because that's 256. Yeah, probably would have been about 350 something, 360 something. So that's a bit special. And then here what we did, again, let me go look at the numbers because that's going to be a bit tricky. I think what I did is I made uranium the same value as diamonds, I think. Yeah, I made uranium the same value as diamonds, and then we took the difference and split, we did the math between gold and diamonds, with uranium being the same as diamonds. Now, allow me to explain the dust and the ore chunks, how I got the value. So you see, the dust for the actual dust and the ore chunks are both labeled /dust, or dust / whatever the name of the metal is. So what I did was I basically took the halfway point between the ingot and the ore and applied it to the dust. So what's one I can remember? Well, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but basically take the value of the ingot, take the value of the ore, split the difference, boom, and it applies to both of them because they have the same name. And so you can't differentiate between the ingot dust and the actual ore chunk dust. I do think, in my opinion, that it's not an oversight on the developer's part, but I think it's the fact that the developer probably wasn't planning for there to be a distinction and to be interacting with the Project E mod. So I don't think that she thought that that was being necessary to make sure they had different names. Or it may have been a coding thing. Silent Chaos, if you see this video, and whichever's the case, if you want to comment down below or message me and I'll make a statement in a video or something. It's not gonna bother me in any way. I'm just making the statement that I think it was probably something like, it's either a technical limitation or it was just, not considering something like Project E during the mod's development, which is, completely understandable. You can't expect to take into account other people's mods when you have an entire library of mods that you have to make sure work together. So, because all of Silent Chaos's mods are meant to work in tandem with another or be used at the same time, so throwing something like Project E in the mix is obviously something that she probably couldn't really plan for and actually interact with in any sort of meaningful way. So let's move on to now that rant's over, let's move on to the alloys. So here's the biggest thing. You'll notice this when we get over there. There's pillars in between each section. And you'll see it over there too. Between each major section there's a pillar, blah blah blah. Well, I didn't realize till over there, where that dark blue and that dark purple is above the netherrack ores, right there, I didn't realize till over there that I had started putting pillars in between each division, and there wasn't a pillar here. Which means I would have to move all of that, and it would have thrown off the nice, neat rows, and you'll see how everything just fits so perfectly that if I moved this by one, it would have disrupted the entire flow of the area. I'm pretty sure none of you actually noticed it until I pointed it out. You were just like, oh, it drops off because there's not as many things to frame up. Yeah, it was a mistake on my end. If it bothers anyone, I am sorry, but I know it bothers my own EMC. My own OCD. Dear Lord. I'm going to be saying an EMC a lot because that's the type of exploit we're going to be doing. Anyways, getting on with all this. Now, the way I got the EMC for the alloys was I took the EMC of the metals or materials that went into it, added it all together with obviously the constants of 3, 3 copper, or a variable of 3. 3 copper plus 1 tin equals 4 ingots of bronze. Well, it's basically 3 times the EMC of copper plus 1, all of that over 4 gives me the EMC of this ingot of just one bronze ingot. I also left the dust for the alloys. I forgot to mention that over there. Left the dust for the alloys the same value because really I could have made them more expensive, but then it would have contradicted the dust for all of those. So I just kind of left it the same as a value as these, because really the only extra step you gotta do is put it in the compressor and make sure the generator that's powering the compressor has fuel in it. That's all you gotta do. Now, next thing is brass, so on. 3 copper plus 3 zinc plus 4 ingots. Same thing on with bismuth brass. Main difference here is you replace one of the copper with a bismuth, get the same amount of ingots. So that's why it has a higher EMC. Redstone alloy. Iron plus 4 redstone equals 2 ingots. Sets itself right here. Does not have a block. It should be noted that many of you are probably seeing that I missed the nuggets. Well, y'all can deal with it because I forgot nuggets were a thing, and gems over there have shards. I forgot all of that was a thing while building this wall, and I wasn't about to shift the whole thing up just to add nuggets, and it would have messed up with a lot of my chests and stuff too. So yeah, nuggets, they're a crafting table recipe. They generate EMC once you get the ingots done. Oh, and these do not have ingots. I think the rest of the alloys do. I know redstone alloy does. Now, here's the thing that we should note about the 3 types of steel. Aluminum steel is less than steel, which is less than bismuth steel. Reason for that is, as you can see, there's a difference in the amount of ingots that is produced by the end result of the smelting. You put 2 iron and 2 coal and get 2 ingots. So essentially you get 1 iron, 1 coal per ingot. Here you get 2 iron plus 3 coal plus aluminum. So it's got more materials put into it, but it produces more ingots. And then you do the same thing, but replace the aluminum with bismuth, and you get almost the same exact equation. And basically steel situates itself really neatly in between these two. It's about halfway in between, actually. I really liked how that came out. So this one's less, this one's more, and that's why the boring old steel is in the middle. It's just because this one has just this one. The difference between only having to divide to 2 ingots to 4 is just enough for aluminum steel to be lower, and then bismuth, the difference between aluminum and bismuth is just enough that when basically divided in half, it can eke out steel. So that's about it. And then we have signalum. It brings redstone into the mix with copper and silver, and then aluminum, which is the last one we need another dust for, which is glowstone dust, and gives you 4 ingots. Now, as far as the look of the alloys and metals and stuff from Silent Mechanisms, and as far as just the name and everything like that, despite the fact that I don't really like the color, when it comes to just the general aesthetic of Electrum, I like this one a lot more for some reason. It's one of my favorites, even though I love my red. I love me some bright red, but Electrum, the name is what sells it for me mostly. But yeah, it's just there. And then we have Invar over here, which is just iron and nickel. And the nickel value being so high is what makes this one so high. And then we have Enderium. I'm guessing it's supposed to just be, the end alloy. It's dark green. It's not bad looking. Then we get the lead, platinum, ender pearls. Now, what you may have noticed, and I'm not entirely sure why this is, but there isn't one that's related to uranium in any way. Almost every other metal is used except uranium in all of these. So I'm sure that was just a decision on the mod creator's part, but I haven't discovered what the actual use for uranium is. So once I do that, we'll revisit all of this again, and when we actually have uses for all of these metals. But this is just an explanation of how all of this is going to relate to itself. Now, I mentioned earlier how crimson steel was different from the others. I gotta go back to uranium in a moment, but I'll explain why when we do that. Now, here's the thing. This recipe is completely wrong. Oop. Do that. See, crimson steel, and to make it line up with the sign above it, I'm going to give you the crafting table recipe. It requires 4 crimson iron. Let me make this look nice and pretty. Crimson iron. Well, can I fit the plus sign up there? Plus magma cream. And then plus 2, not at, blaze rods. So, this is the crafting table recipe. Now, that being said, see, note, does not need smelter recipe for crafting table. So this recipe down here is to get this 1 ingot out of the crafting table. That being said, I'm going to show you what the other one is. Crimson. If I can spell crimson. Crimson. Jeez. Crimson steel. There's your crafting table recipe, just as I said. Now the smelting recipe is actually less expensive, so you can get more for your buck EMC wise and more for your resources really if you use the crimson iron ingots, 3 of them, plus the 1 magma cream. The 1 magma cream is the same, but it's only 1 blaze rod, so you're essentially saving about 2000 EMC when it comes to crafting this ingot. So, and since this was an EMC built off of the crafting table recipe, the EMC of crimson steel is much higher than any of the other alloys. So I didn't want to change it just to fit my needs. I wanted to leave it as is, but it's still not as valuable as I think nickel and uranium. I think it's around the same area as platinum EMC wise, based on my calculations. Now, when it comes to the exploit that we'll be discussing earlier with the furnace, or later, excuse me, in this series, with the furnaces and the power flowers and hoppers and everything, we'll be using uranium ore, uranium ingots, and as well as a gem later that I'll explain later in this video, to perform the actions we're going to need to actually use the exploit. And we'll get to the exploit. This is going to be a little mini series, but I'm just going to run with the assumption that no one knows anything about the mods I'm using. They're wanting to learn a bit about the mods, so I have to make it abundantly clear why I'm doing the things I'm doing in these mods. So I'm sorry if this is all stuff like that. I will make it abundantly clear in the video's titles and descriptions when we actually get to that point. So if you're watching this video, if you haven't seen those videos are up on my channel, subscribe and ring the bell so you know when they come out. If they are up, they're probably going to be like the 6th or 7th, maybe 8th episodes. Basically, the whole smelting flower exploit series. Look at the last 3 episodes, and that's going to be the actual smelting flower stuff. And we may have a whole episode that's dedicated to calculations on how they perform against each other using the vanilla items or the Project D items against using the silent mechanics items that have the higher EMC values. So we will be getting to all of that, but again, we're probably not going to be actually building power flower in this episode, because I have to break all of this now. Now, if you'll give me, let's see. Yeah, give me 1 minute to collect all my thoughts on the gems and stuff, because I gotta break that down. I'll refresh myself on how I did the equations, and we will get to it. Alright. Alright, on to all of our friends in silent gems here. The equation pretty much repeats itself over and over and over again with different variables, depending on the EMC of nether quartz, lapis, diamond, and emerald. If we look over here, quartz level, lapis level, got a bunch of signs that read about the same way. So here's how it works. First we have our overworld gems, 4 of them. Nether gems, 4, and then 4 end gems, and then the gem that the level is made after. So nether quartz, we got nether quartz ore, nether quartz block. Again, all the blocks get their EMC from the Project D code because they are crafting item recipes. Now, the way to explain it is, first off, to get the overworld gems, we take nether quartz, we take the ore, divide it by 4, or the EMC for the ore, divide that by 4, and then the number is 16, and that's ruby. We get 32 here, 48 here, and then this amber matches nether quartz exactly. So, and I'll break it down a little bit more how it actually lines up when we get over there, but for now, let's just stick to the math stuff. So, same thing, nether quartz. I believe ruby itself ends up being about 64. Hold on. Boop. Let's see. Yep, 64 EMC. I actually forgot I could do that. For a moment, I could just take it off the frame. It says I'm in survival, I can just take it off, boop, and then put it back on without having one stuck in my inventory. When I was setting all this stuff up, I was in creative. So then we have all the ores here. So then amber here, doop, is 256, which should line up. Nether quartz, 256. So now that's how that works. Now we're going to move on to how I got the stuff for the nether and the end, because there's a little bit extra work here. So basically, well, it's really just stuff you do after you get these 4. So once we have these 4, we take the ore value for ruby, and we add, which is 16, and we add it to both the ores and the gems that line up with it. So ruby lines up with carnelian and pyrope. So what we do is we add 16 to the carnelian, which means the ore is 32, and the gem should be 80. Yep, 80. And then for pyrope, we have a 48 ore, and then a 96 for the EMC of the gem. And what we do, and then we add the 16 to the garnet to get the spinel, and it's 16 all the way through this whole thing. It's not 16 and then we take the ore for garnet, add it to itself to get the spinel ore. No, it is the 16 from the ruby ore all the way through to the amber. So what we end up with is jasper here, should be 16 above, nether quartz, which is 208. Wait, something's not right there. Something's not right. That one's right. Why is jasper wrong? Or citrine. Why is citrine wrong? No, that's still jasper. What the fuck? Citrine. Okay, so apparently I set this EMC wrong, so I'm gonna have to go back and fix that. How did I do that? Oh well, so I'll have to fix that, but you know, it still stands. So we add the 16 to all the nether stuff, and then what we do is we either add 32 to the end, we add it to the surface ores, we add 32 there, or we can just add 16 to the nether stuff, the equivalent nether ores, to get pyrope coral. So what pyrope is should be the 96, and then we get the 288 from cat's eye, because this should reasonably be about what is, yeah, I'm just mad at myself because I messed up Jasper. Anyways, so that's the basic math of how it works. Since we're basically starting at 0 here, it's a lot easier to break down. It gets a bit more complicated when we go over here to lapis, because now we can't just divide lapis into 4, or else Heliodor over here will be somewhere around here in EMC value. It won't be separate. So what we do is we take lapis, we take its EMC value, and we subtract the nether quartz EMC value from lapis. Then we take that difference, divide it by 4, and that gives us the stats. Take that difference, divide it by 4, and then add it to nether quartz. That's how we get the stats for Heliodor, which is 408. So Heliodor is 408, and the ore down here is 102. So we take that difference and we add it back up again to where phospholite is 864, which should line up with our lapis over here. 864, yep. So, and then from there, we follow the same principle as we did over here. We take the 102 from Heliodor, add it to Zircon, which is going to make this 204, and then the Zircon gem itself is 510, and so on and so forth. Same verse, second verse, same as the first. Then once we have all of the nether ores, we add the 102 to the nether ores, nether gems, to get the light gems. So do all that. Then we get over here to the diamond level, same thing we did over on the lapis level. Take the difference between diamond and lapis, divide that by 4, add it to lapis, you get the aquamarine, and then from there we do the same math we've been doing since we started. Then I'm not going to repeat it 4 different times, so just if you want the full in-depth one, if I wasn't very clear when I was talking about the first set, let me know. I'll do a whole separate video where I set it up in an Excel sheet and I go back and forth between an Excel sheet and this, and we discuss it all together. So, and then emerald, do the same thing. Subtract diamond's EMC from emerald, split it into 4, add that to diamond, and that gives us agate, and so on and so forth. Just a little note, this has no bearing on what we're doing today. It's the mob capture device, just a little extra mod I have. I will eventually show y'all why I have that, and it's mostly just to move it. I mostly use it to move villagers around, but that is essentially everything I have to show you. If you want me to go full into depth into what each of these are, you know, break it down, give a full sort of thing going on. Honestly, when it comes to my I don't have really a favorite on these yet, but if you want me to break it all down, we'll do it more. Oof, I actually almost forgot something. In the same vein as us using the uranium as our modded material that we're going to be comparing to, it's going to be gold in the demo systems I already have set up that show you what the end result's going to look like. We're going to be using pearl in the mod as our modded material, the pearl gem and the pearl block, as opposed to emerald and emerald blocks. So that's something we'll look forward to when we eventually get to doing all of that. Now, I'm going to be 100% transparent. All of that over there is going to be in its own separate videos, and I'm probably going to record them not long after I get done recording this video, because I'm just going to kind of record it all in a couple of days and then edit it and release them a day apart. So if you're watching this video, you can expect the first video on the Project E stuff, the real Project E stuff, and my full explanation of how Project E works, basically how we're going to go through and build all this stuff, because I'm going to teach you how to build a power flower before I teach you how to break a power flower, so to speak. So again, because I'm not assuming anyone knows anything about this, even though I'm sure many of you do know, because Project E is a fairly popular mod. I am not trying to belittle anyone, but I know for a fact someone's probably going to stumble across my video when they look up how to make a Project E power flower. So I got to assume that people are going to find these videos, and I'm going to end up having to explain it. So it's better for me to just go ahead and go through the whole process now, so people know what we're looking at, and we'll do that. And you'll see me making a reference over here to just enough items a lot, as just a way to double check all of these recipes I already have, but just while we're at the crafting table. And it is a good mod to have if you're doing the Project E stuff, because it's a real easy way to keep track of all of these, so you don't have to have my video in the background so you can come look at these. If you have JEI, you can very easily do it. Anyways, that being said, that is all we're going to do today, and I'm going to just basically try and end and start all my videos out here. We may not sometimes, but alright, so that's everything I have for you today. Sorry for the little business with sorting out F5, and well, next time we'll actually be delving into Project E. I know this is a lot of just random tedious stuff at the beginning, but it gives people a chance to figure out this series, and it gives you a chance to understand where all the modded materials come from, why I'm using them, why the EMC is the way it is, and to understand that no, none of the Silent Chaos mods come with Project E integration. It is not something that is built into them. You have to go through and create your own EMCs for all the items you can, and the ones that you can't, you're just kind of SOL. I'm sorry. Anyways, standard YouTube stuff. Leave a comment if you have any questions. I'll try and either answer them in the comment section. This isn't my primary channel, so I'm a little difficult to get in touch with. I'll make sure my Twitter is down below. Tweet me if you have questions. Try and take a quick screenshot of the section of the video you have questions about so I can better understand. And, well, beyond that, everyone have a nice day. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you'll come back and see the others. Without any further ado, bye.